It was supposed to be just another ordinary Tuesday morning. Olivia Park, a Korean-American interior designer, was seated in her downtown San Francisco studio, reviewing blueprints for a luxury hotel chain, her biggest project of the year. Fresh coffee steamed beside her, sunlight streamed through the windows, and soft jazz floated from the Bluetooth speaker by the sill. Her life, though hectic, was stable. Everything was on track. Until her phone rang, the screen flashed. Golden Creek Elementary. Olivia frowned. Her daughter, Mia, was in first grade there. A chill ran down her spine. "Ms. Park," a rushed voice said, "this is Principal Sanders. Mia collapsed during recess. Paramedics are taking her to City Children's Hospital." Blueprints scattered to the floor as Olivia grabbed her keys and bolted out the door, heart pounding in her chest. She tried to stay calm, but her mind was already racing with terrifying possibilities. The emergency room was crowded and chaotic, cold fluorescent lights reflecting off the polished tile floors. Olivia pushed through the crowd, her breath short, her heart pounding. "My daughter, Mia Park," she said to the nurse at the reception desk. "She was brought in by ambulance." The nurse nodded. "Room 7. Dr. Connor is with her." Olivia practically ran down the hallway. In the hospital bed, her daughter looked impossibly small, dwarfed by IV lines, oxygen tubes, and blinking monitors. Mia, usually bright, curious, full of energy, now seemed frighteningly frail. Her brown eyes were dull, her skin pale, her limbs limp. "Sweetheart, I'm here," Olivia whispered, grabbing her daughter's cold hand. "Mommy's here." "Mama," Mia murmured, "I'm so tired, and my tummy hurts." A middle-aged woman with calm eyes entered the room. "Ms. Park, I'm Dr. Connor, a pediatric nephrologist. We need to run a few tests to better understand what's going on." Olivia swallowed hard. "Nephrologist? That means kidneys?" "Yes," the doctor nodded. "Mia's symptoms are concerning. We'll do blood work, a urinalysis, and an ultrasound immediately." The next several hours blurred together. Olivia stayed by her daughter's side, forcing herself to smile when Mia asked about the strange machines or flinched from needles. Mia still tried to make the nurses laugh with silly jokes, but the fear in her eyes was unmistakable. Just after midnight, Dr. Connor found Olivia in the family waiting room, test results in hand. Olivia clutched her cold cup of coffee, heart thudding. "Please," she said, "tell me everything. Don't sugarcoat it." Dr. Connor exhaled slowly. "Mia is in end-stage renal failure. Both kidneys are functioning at less than 10%. The words hit like a physical blow. Olivia couldn't breathe. "She's only 7. How did this happen?" "Some conditions progress quietly," the doctor explained. "Children are remarkably resilient, so symptoms often appear late, but we're past that point now." "What can we do?" "We'll start dialysis immediately to stabilize her, but long-term, Mia needs a kidney transplant." "Then put her on the transplant list." "The pediatric transplant list can take years," the doctor said gently. "The best chance is a living donor. Blood relatives are statistically more likely to be compatible." "I'll donate my kidney," Olivia said immediately, without hesitation. "Test me first." Dr. Connor nodded, eyes full of understanding. "We'll draw your blood right away." As the nurse prepared the needle, Olivia glanced over at Mia, fast asleep in the hospital bed. Her tiny arms were marked with fresh needle pricks, her face pale and fragile. Olivia clenched her jaw, forcing back the tremble in her hands. She would give anything, to save her child. Hours later, when the results came back, Dr. Connor asked Olivia to step into a private room. Her face held quiet regret. "Ms. Park, I'm so sorry. Your blood type and HLA markers don't match Mia's. You're not a compatible donor." Olivia felt the floor fall away beneath her. No, no, that can't be, she whispered. I know this is hard to hear, the doctor said gently, but there's still hope. If we can test another close relative, Mia's biological father, for example. The question was clinical, logical, straightforward, but for Olivia it felt like a blade to the chest. She closed her eyes, and suddenly she wasn't in the hospital anymore. She was standing in the hallway of a Chicago apartment, 8 years ago, her heart breaking, her vision blurred with tears, the door slightly open, and the image burned into her memory. The man she had once loved more than herself, holding another woman in his arms. Daniel Rivera. The name clenched her chest, her throat tightened with the memory. The man who had once meant everything, passion, future, and love. And a gifted chef, owner of a Michelin-recognized restaurant in Chicago. The man who used to cook candlelit dinners for her after long work days. And the same man who shattered her heart. She remembered that night vividly, the moment everything changed. She had come home early with a small gift box, a silk tie she had picked out just for him. But when she opened the door, she froze. Isabella, his ex-fiancée, was in his arms, crying. And Daniel. He had said those words, "Olivia was the biggest mistake of my life." She didn't stay to hear more. She left that night, her heart in pieces, and carrying a child he never knew existed. Daniel had no idea he had a daughter, and Olivia, out of pain and pride, never told him. But now everything had changed. Mia was only a few rooms away, her tiny body hooked to wires and monitors, fighting for each breath. Her life depended on a man who didn't even know she was alive. "Ms. Park?" A nurse's voice cut in. "Mia's about to start her first dialysis session. Would you like to be with her?" Olivia nodded, but her mind was elsewhere. Her fingers clutched her phone so tightly, her knuckles turned white. His number was still in her contacts, simply saved as D. She had never deleted it, whether out of punishment or some quiet refusal to let go. She didn't know. She stood, stepping into the quiet hallway. Hands trembling, she unlocked her phone. Scrolled. Daniel Rivera. Her finger hovered over the call button. Mia needed him. And Olivia knew. It was time to face the past. Olivia leaned against the cold white wall of the hospital hallway, phone in hand. For a moment, the world fell silent. She could hear the soft hum of Mia's dialysis machine down the corridor and the pounding of her own heart. She took a deep breath. She had built an entire life without Daniel, a home for Mia, a stable career, a wall of strength around a heart that once shattered. But that wall was cracking now. She pressed call. 1 ring. 2. "Hello," a deep, familiar voice answered. Still that voice, rough around the edges, touched with his Spanish heritage, and it broke her all over again. Her own voice came out barely above a whisper. "Daniel." A silence followed that seemed to stretch for eternity. "Olivia?" he said finally, stunned. "Is this real? After all these years?" "I need to see you. If this is about the past—" "It's not," she cut in, her voice trembling. "It's about your daughter." Silence. Total silence. She could hear him breathing, the sharp inhale, like the world had stopped turning. "I have a daughter?" His voice cracked. "Her name is Mia. She's 7, and she's dying. The doctors think you might be her only hope." 7 years, and you never... His voice was sharp now, confused, angry. "You didn't tell me. Not once. You vanished. I know. I deserve your anger. But right now, Mia needs you." "You walked out," he snapped. "No warning. I thought you didn't want me. That we were done." "And I thought you chose Isabella over me." The name hung like a blade. "I walked in and saw you holding her. I heard you say I was the biggest mistake of your life." "God," Daniel exhaled. "Olivia, that's not what happened." Not now, she choked. We can talk about all that later. Right now, there's only one thing that matters. Mia needs a kidney. The best chance is a blood relative. And you're the only one left. A long pause. Where are you? San Francisco, City Children's Hospital. I'll be on the next flight. Daniel, it won't be easy. No, but what's harder than knowing my daughter is lying in a hospital bed without me? She broke, quietly, completely. Thank you. Keep her safe. I'm coming. The call ended, and Olivia knew the storm she'd spent 8 years outrunning was finally coming home. But this time, she wouldn't run. Daniel arrived like a storm the next morning. Olivia heard him before she saw him, that deep, familiar voice echoing through the hallway, rapid-fire Spanish pouring from his mouth as he rearranged his entire life over the phone. He looked exhausted, still devastatingly handsome in a wrinkled suit from the red-eye flight. His hair was shorter now, his face clean-shaven, but those dark blue eyes, sharp, stormy, unforgettable, hadn't changed at all. Olivia. Daniel. They stood in the quiet waiting area as if measuring the distance that 8 years had carved between them. Where is she? Daniel's voice softened suddenly, hesitant. Room 314, Olivia answered, gripping her coat. She's asleep. But before you meet her, we need to talk. Daniel let out a short laugh, but there was no joy in it. We should have talked 8 years ago, Olivia. You're right. You have every reason to be angry. You disappeared, took everything with you, including my daughter. Olivia lowered her gaze. I didn't know how to tell you. I was angry, I was hurt, and I truly believed you'd chosen her over me. We'll talk, he whispered, his tone gentler. But first, let me see her. Olivia led him to Mia's door. Inside, Mia sat propped up in bed, coloring a sketchbook. Tubes ran into her small arms, but her face lit up when she saw the unfamiliar man standing in the doorway. Are you the new doctor? She asked, tilting her head. Exactly the way Daniel always had. Daniel froze, then dropped to his knees, instinctively. No, sweetheart, he said, voice breaking. I'm your dad. Mia blinked, then turned to Olivia. Mommy, is it true? Olivia stepped closer, nodding slowly. Yes, baby, it's true. This is your dad. A stillness hung in the air. Then Mia slipped off the bed, dragging her IV pole with her. She walked up to Daniel, studied his face carefully, narrowing her eyes as if searching for a missing piece. I have your eyes, she said softly, just like in the mirror. Daniel laughed, a trembling, broken sound that rose from somewhere deep and long buried. You got them from your grandmother, he said. You would have loved her. Then, without warning, Mia hugged him, a tiny, delicate embrace that fit perfectly in his shaking arms. I'm glad you came, she whispered. Daniel wrapped his arms around his daughter like he was holding a shattered world finally being put back together. Olivia turned away, but the tears had already started. 8 years, a lifetime lost, and a single moment to begin making things right. Daniel stayed kneeling beside his daughter's bed for a long time, as if memorizing every line of her tiny face. When Mia drifted off to sleep from the medication, he stood up and brushed a hand gently through her hair, as if sealing a silent promise. Olivia watched him, eyes rimmed red. No words were needed. They both knew their conversation wasn't over. It was only just beginning. You can come with me to the lab, she said softly. The doctors need to draw your blood to check compatibility. Daniel nodded. Whatever it takes, if there's even a chance to help her, I'll do it. They walked side by side down the long hospital corridor. No hands touching, but the space between them now felt less like a wall, more like a bridge being rebuilt. In the lab, Daniel didn't flinch at the sight of needles. He didn't ask how long results would take. He just held out his arm, eyes fixed somewhere down the hallway, as if Mia was his only compass left. When the tests were done, the nurse promised results by the afternoon. Olivia and Daniel returned to the waiting area, sitting apart, but no longer at war. Daniel was the first to speak, voice quiet but steady. "Why did you leave like that?" Olivia didn't answer right away. She stared out the fogged-up window. "You really don't know?" she whispered. "I know you were hurt, but to disappear without a word? No call? No letter?" "I thought I saw everything I needed to see," she murmured. Daniel leaned back, fingers laced tightly. "You saw me with Isabella, but why didn't you ask? Why didn't you give me a chance to explain?" "Because," her voice cracked, "because I was scared that what I heard was true." "What did you hear?" "That I was the biggest mistake of your life." Daniel exhaled, eyes closing. "God." She turned to him, voice trembling. "I was pregnant, Daniel. That night. I was going to tell you." He turned sharply. "You were pregnant?" She nodded. "I bought you a tie. It was my way of telling you. But then I walked in, and everything I believed in just shattered." He sat there, stunned. "I didn't know. I had no idea. I thought you just got tired of me. Of us. And I thought you had chosen her over me." He laughed bitterly. "She came to me because she had cancer. No one else to turn to. I held her while she cried, yes, but I never chose her over you. And that line you overheard? It was about me, about how giving up love for work was the biggest mistake of my life. I never called you a mistake." Silence. Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box, his hands trembling slightly as he placed it in hers. "I was going to propose that night. I've carried this ring every day since." Olivia opened it. The sapphire sparkled, the same shade as her eyes. Her fingers shook. "You kept it all this time?" "Because I never stopped loving you." For a long time they sat in silence. Only the soft hum of the AC and golden afternoon light filtering through the window filled the space between them. "We've missed so much," Daniel said gently. "But if Mia is giving us a second chance, would you give me one too?" Olivia didn't answer right away, but in her eyes something had softened. A door creaked open, one that had been closed for 8 years. The news came the next morning, bringing both relief and new waves of fear. "He's not just compatible," Dr. Connor said, eyes bright as she reviewed the lab report. "He's a perfect genetic match. It's rare, even between a parent and child." Daniel closed his eyes, exhaling. "When can we do the surgery?" 3 days, the doctor said. "We just need to run a few final tests to make sure you're strong enough." 3 days. Olivia had never known time to move so slowly. During those days, Daniel stayed with Mia as much as possible. He read to her, made her laugh, helped her fold paper cranes from the hospital's activity kit. "Mom," Mia whispered one evening as Olivia tucked her in, "after I get the new kidney, will Dad have to go back to Chicago?" The question pierced Olivia like a knife. But before she could answer, Daniel replied softly from the chair near the window. "I'll be wherever you and Mommy are." Mia smiled and drifted off to sleep. The morning of the surgery arrived gray and misty. A fine drizzle blanketed the windows. The hospital air felt colder than usual. Daniel brought chocolate croissants from the French bakery down the street, Mia's favorite. "Is today the day?" Mia asked sleepily. "It is, my little princess," Daniel said, sitting at her bedside. "But first, breakfast, fit for royalty." Soon after, the surgical team arrived. Daniel was taken first. As he lay on the gurney, ready to be wheeled away, Mia called out, "Daddy, what if something goes wrong?" Daniel reached for her hand. "Do you remember what I promised you?" he asked. that I'd be here when you wake up. And sweetheart, I always keep my promises." 30 minutes later, it was Mia's turn. Olivia walked beside her, holding her hand down the long, sterile hallway. "Mommy, will you be sad when I'm gone for a little bit?" Mia asked, her voice groggy from pre-surgery meds. "No, baby," Olivia whispered, choking back tears. "I'll be right here, and so will Daddy. We'll both be waiting." Mia nodded slowly. "Then promise me you won't fight while I'm asleep, okay?" Olivia let out a shaky laugh through her tears. "I promise." The operating room doors closed behind her daughter, and finally, Olivia stopped holding it all in. She collapsed onto a bench in the hallway, clutching her chest, and cried harder than she had in years. The storm she'd feared had arrived. But this time, she wasn't facing it alone. The surgery was a success. Both Daniel and Mia were safe. Dr. Connor smiled when she gave the update. "The new kidney has started functioning. Mia is recovering just as we hoped, and Daniel is getting through recovery like a warrior." During the first week post-op, Olivia moved between 2 hospital rooms like clockwork. She cared for Mia, checked in on Daniel, and tried not to let her emotions spill out in front of either of them. Daniel recovered faster than expected. By day 3, he was seated beside Mia's hospital bed, watching her color and listening to her talk about school like he hadn't missed a thing. "Mom, I'm drawing our new house," Mia said, holding up her crayon masterpiece. "There's 3 of us, you, me, and Daddy, standing out front, holding hands." Daniel glanced at Olivia. They hadn't discussed what would happen after the surgery. But in Mia's mind, the picture was already complete. After both were discharged, Daniel temporarily put his Chicago life on hold and moved into Olivia's small home. No rushing, no pressure. "I'll sleep on the couch," Daniel said the first night back. "I want to be here, but I don't want you to feel crowded." Olivia nodded, and she was more grateful for his patience than he could ever know. Day by day, they cared for Mia together. Doctor visits, medication schedules, bedtime stories. Daniel was learning how to be a father, awkward at times, but full of heart. One morning, as Olivia made coffee, Mia sat at the kitchen table and whispered, "Mom, why does Daddy look at you like in the movies?" Olivia blinked. "Like what, sweetheart?" "Like he's falling in love with you again." It made Olivia laugh, tired but honest. She looked over at Daniel, sitting on the sofa with his sketch pad and floor plans. The sunlight streamed across his face. The man who once broke her heart was slowly, gently helping it heal. 2 weeks after they were discharged, Daniel made a quiet suggestion. "I'd love to bring you and Mia to Chicago for a few days, not for work, just to introduce you both to my mother." Olivia hesitated. Chicago wasn't just his city. It was where everything once fell apart. But this time she wasn't returning in shame. She was coming back with Mia, and with the man who was slowly building their family back from broken pieces. Mia was thrilled. "Can we see the buildings Daddy made? And I've never been on a plane." Olivia laughed and nodded. "Then let's go." Chicago welcomed them with crisp autumn air and a quiet familiarity. Daniel took them to his new apartment in the West Loop, not far from the restaurant he once owned. So much had changed. And yet it still felt like a piece of his heart was rooted here. The next day, Daniel brought them to meet his mother, Lucia Rivera, at her flower-filled cottage in the north suburbs. Lucia was small, silver-haired, and carried a softness in her voice that immediately made Olivia feel both seen and safe. When she opened the door and saw Mia, she froze. For a long moment, no one said anything. Then Lucia knelt, pulled the little girl into her arms, and whispered in Spanish, "My granddaughter, Dios mío, you have your father's eyes." Mia grinned. "Daddy said you make the best empanadas in the world." Lucia chuckled. "Well then, You'd better help me in the kitchen." While Mia and Daniel played in the backyard, Lucia invited Olivia inside for tea. The kitchen was warm, filled with the scent of cinnamon and dried oranges. "You know," Lucia said, her voice soft, "when you left Daniel, wasn't Daniel anymore?" Olivia held her teacup tighter. "He didn't say much," Lucia continued, "but I saw it, the hollow eyes, sleepless nights. Every evening he'd sit by the window with that ring box. I asked him why. He said, 'Because I still don't believe it's really over.'" Olivia felt the guilt tighten in her chest. "I thought leaving meant I was strong," she whispered. "But truthfully, I was scared. I never gave him a chance to explain." Lucia reached over and held her hand. "Mi amor, what matters most isn't that you came back. It's that you had the courage to face the truth. That takes more strength than people realize." And in that moment, Olivia didn't just feel forgiven. She felt whole again. The days in Chicago passed gently. They walked by Lake Michigan, visited Willis Tower, where Daniel had once designed the 89th floor interior. Mia pressed her nose to the glass and gasped. "Daddy, it's like a castle." Daniel smiled, lifting her up. "Every castle needs its princess." Evenings were filled with flower-dusted laughter and family meals. Olivia cooked beside Lucia, while Daniel and Mia made a floury mess and called it helping. One night, after Mia had fallen asleep, Daniel and Olivia stood on the balcony, watching the city lights flicker. "You know," Daniel said quietly, "all the painful memories I had of this city, they're fading." Olivia rested her head on his shoulder. "I used to think this was the city where I lost everything. But now," she looked up at him, her voice a whisper, "now it's where I found it all again." The return flight to San Francisco was bathed in golden afternoon light. Through the airplane window, the city came into view, the shimmer of blue waters, the Golden Gate Bridge glowing beneath a setting sun. Olivia held Mia's hand, the little girl sleeping peacefully beside her. Across the aisle, Daniel caught her gaze and smiled. She smiled back. No words needed, the kind of quiet understanding that only love could speak. 3 weeks in Chicago had healed wounds that time alone couldn't. But for Daniel, it did more than heal. It revealed. He didn't want to simply walk beside Olivia anymore. He wanted to walk with her. For life. That afternoon, the three of them sat together on the couch. Mia hugged her favorite stuffed bear while Daniel and Olivia listened as she talked about school and her friends. Like this had always been their life. "I have a plan," Mia suddenly declared. "Oh?" Olivia smiled. "What kind of plan, sweetheart?" "First, we have a tea party so Daddy can meet all my stuffed animals," Mia said, with the seriousness of a CEO. "Then we make pancakes on Sunday. And then, the wedding?" Daniel and Olivia froze. "A wedding?" Daniel asked, half laughing. "Yeah. Emma at school said parents only live together if they're married. I want us to live together forever." Olivia looked at Daniel, ready to speak, but he was already standing. "Well, I have a plan too," Daniel said, his eyes bright. He walked to his coat, reached inside, and pulled out a small, worn velvet box, the same one Olivia had seen in the hospital. Mia gasped. "That's a ring box, isn't it?" "Yes," Daniel nodded, "and I've kept it for 8 years. I didn't know when I'd use it, but now I do." He knelt in front of Olivia. No big gestures, just a cozy living room, a child's giggle, and a heart that had waited far too long. "Olivia Park, you're the only woman who's ever made me want to stay. I'm not proposing because things are perfect. I'm proposing because you are home." "Will you marry me?" Olivia stared at him, speechless. But before she could answer, Mia jumped up. "Say yes, Mommy. Do it. I want wedding cake." Between laughter and tears, Olivia nodded. "Yes." Daniel slipped the ring onto her finger, and the three of them embraced in the living room in a moment that wasn't grand, but was perfect. 6 weeks later, Olivia's backyard was transformed into a sun-drenched garden filled with flowers and twinkling string lights. A little wooden sign at the gate read, "Mom and Dad's wedding, planned by Mia." It wasn't a grand affair, no designer dress, no luxury venue, just close friends, a white lace-draped canopy, and a flower girl in a pink dress holding a stuffed bear. Mia. Daddy stands here, Mommy stands there. Music? Now. Mia directed with all the seriousness of a seasoned wedding planner. Olivia stepped out from the house, hand in hand with her daughter. The sunlight caught the soft cream of her simple dress. Daniel stood under the flower arch, eyes fixed only on her. "I'm giving Mommy to you now," Mia whispered. "I promise to take care of her," Daniel replied, his voice thick with emotion. They exchanged quiet vows, apologies, gratitude, and promises to love through the little things. "I lost you once," Daniel said. "I swear I'll never lose you again." When Daniel kissed her, Mia squealed and tossed flower petals into the air. "Now let's eat cake and dance," she shouted. As the sun set, Olivia and Daniel danced in the yard. Mia spun in circles beside them, her pink dress flying. Laughter, music, and the echo of new beginnings filled the garden. Not perfect, but whole. And most of all, real. 3 years after the wedding, their family had grown, no longer just the three of them. Benji, the newest member, had Daniel's deep blue eyes and Mia's mischievous smile. He followed his sister everywhere, crashed tea parties with the stuffed animals, and tried to grab everything with his tiny, curious hands. Mia, now 10, took her role as responsible big sister seriously. She helped change diapers, read bedtime stories, and still drew family portraits, now with 4 stick figures. One summer afternoon, they sat at their favorite ice cream shop on the corner, the same one they visited after Mia's final post-surgery checkup. Mia was savoring her usual strawberry, Benji had chocolate all over his face, and Daniel was wrestling a spoon out of his son's grip while Olivia simply watched, smiling, at the 3 people she loved most in the world. "We're a team," Mia declared, as she often did. "Yep," Daniel nodded. "A sticky, ice cream-covered team that can't keep a birthday surprise." "But the happiest team," Olivia whispered. Benji giggled, clapped his chubby hands as if in agreement. And right there, at that simple ice cream table, no fairy lights, no grand speeches, just melted cones and sticky fingers, they had a moment. And in that moment, forever didn't feel like a promise. It felt like home.